I kind of want to do stand-up comedy full-time during the day. That way, when I'm really bad, people will say things like, "Don't quit the day job," and I'll take it as encouragement. I was advised that the best way to destroy my enemies is to make them my friends. So I did. Now I hate my friends. I'll have to make a song called "Enemies in Low Places." A National Grid worker said my meter didn't go up as much this month, but I think he was gaslighting me. I saw a sign that said "uneven lanes," but I counted 2 of them. Might get a tattoo that says "my other tattoo is better." I know a tattoo artist who has an incredible body of work. I know somebody who got a tattoo of a cookie. I just assumed he had a chip on his shoulder. I think I've given so many people a piece of my mind over the years, there's not much left. Someone told me my humor is the cat's pajamas, and by that he meant it doesn't exist. When someone says, "Is everything a joke to you?" the correct answer is not, "No, everything is an indefinite pronoun." I spotted my friend some money so he could buy a stand-up routine online. I guess the joke's on me. I got a tattoo of a riddle. The joke's on me again. Sometimes I think people boo that joke just to needle me. I know of an organization that claims to officiate daily at weddings for dozens of divorced people who have kids. It's a 12-step program. That was a long journey for a 12-step joke. I did a comedy routine at the morgue. I was a little stiff at first, but I think I killed. If you're wondering why I was a little stiff, it's because I'm a necrophiliac. I heard a joke about short-term memory loss. It was so funny, I forgot to laugh. I tried to put on a wrinkle-resistant shirt, but it put up a struggle. I think I'm getting too old. When looking for something, they say it's always in the last place you look. However, it could also be in the second to last place you look, if you have a bad memory and keep looking after you already found it. I've been told I have the memory of a goldfish, with Alzheimer's. I listened to Dancing on the Ceiling at the Sistine Chapel, and the curator told me not to get any ideas. I think trash collectors have the best pickup lines. I think the creator of the song "Are You My Sunshine, My Only Sunshine" had a vitamin D deficiency. Got in an argument about where earlier men used to dwell. Eventually I caved. Ironically, I stopped flying a kite when I got winded. I think a good feather riddle is worth its weight in gold. People always give the advice that those who live in glass houses shouldn't throw stones, but more importantly, they should buy curtains and house insurance. And perhaps wear shorts because it heats up in there. I see the world a little differently. I'm nearsighted. I stayed up trying to think of the limits of human imagination. You can't make this stuff up. Autofill is the bane of my extrapolation. Granted, that joke is better when it's written. I recently drove by the Darwin building at MIT and realized that building must always be under construction. I drove by later, and it was a shopping mall. I heard it was actually quite innovative, and the person who drew up the blueprints won the Darwin Award. Unless I'm unclear of the purpose of that award. The Creationist building across the street went up in a week. I tend to put people who got over their fear of heights up on a pedestal. I was pretty high when I wrote this. A friend told me that I should make a show. I told her I actually shot a pilot once. And I filmed an episode. Heyo! You guys are in for a real treat. Our first comedian will give you some food for thought. Please welcome Luke Warm. I ordered a sub sandwich online and was disappointed. Never meet your hero. I tried cooking pot stickers in a non-stick pan. Long story short, we are eating out tonight. I'm wondering if they should call rolling papers pot stickers. I think they should put pictures of missing vegans on the side of soy milk. I asked someone which came first, the chicken or the egg. He said, "I don't know, but don't touch either of them." I forgot he was vegan. I've been a carne polo pescatarian for most of my life. 12 years ago I went vegetarian and I haven't looked back. mostly because I can't control those muscles in my neck anymore due to lack of nutrients. When I decided to be a vegetarian, I gave up light and dark meat, cold turkey. When life gives you lemons, know it's a scam. There's no such thing as a free lunch. I was told you need to stay away from the trans fats. When it comes to fat, I don't assume gender. Whenever I get in an argument with ovo-vegetarians, I'm always left with egg on my face. I argued with a meat eater, and he forced me to eat crow. While meeting with a banker to get funding for a vegetarian restaurant, I said, "Let's talk turkey." I didn't get the funding. I tend to put my foot in my mouth often. I wear faux leather shoes, though, so I can still claim to be vegetarian. My kids are pesco-vegetarian, so they can eat goldfish, but not animal crackers. There's actually a drink now called Soylent. I didn't look closely, but maybe these bottles should say, made in the same facility as Soylent Green, and may contain trace amounts of people. I don't think that went over well, but as we often say in my house, no use crying over spilled soy milk. As a vegetarian, I watch Ghostbusters now, a little more disgusted knowing that the Stay Puft Marshmallow Man had a large amount of gelatin in him. I read an article about how pescatarians are growing in number, but I think it was a red herring. As somebody who gave up fish, I can't make heads or tails of any of this. I want to open a vegetarian Chinese restaurant called The Lucky Duck. I knew a vegetarian singer with a frog in his throat. When trying to come up with ideas for a gluten-free restaurant, my partner and I just threw spaghetti at the wall to see what would stick. That's what it boils down to. I knew the first time I talked to a friend about the virtues of being a vegetarian, I wasn't going to convince him, but at least I planted the seed in his head. A friend told me that there is a vegetarian Meals on Wheels. My response was, cool beans. Give a vegetarian a fish and he'll say, no thank you, I'm a vegetarian. Teach a vegetarian to fish and he'll say, did you hear what I said earlier? I'm not interested. I formed a vegetarian baseball team. As a pep talk, I said, there is no meat in team. Dang it. I then told them not to go easy on the other guys because there is no tame in team. I'm really bad at this. They make 3D printers that can print food. I even saw one that can make a vegan steak. Knowing my luck, the printer would jam and I'd be stuck having leftovers. I'm also the guy who eats cookie batter, so I'd probably just munch down on the steak cartridges. I took a picture of a vegan. I asked him to say cheese. He then lectured me for an hour. A vegan reprimanded me for eating eggs. I told him to mind his own beeswax. He then lectured me for another 20 minutes. Recently, I started giving the vegan lifestyle a chance. However, in general, vegans need to get off their high horse. Mainly because it's not okay to ride an animal. The average vegan has 30 pounds of undigested tree bark in his intestines. I have an idea for vegan food I'd like to bring to market, but I don't want to count my chickens before they hatch. Someone asked me if it was possible to make vegan proteins from cow's milk. I told him there was no way. I was advised to save up a nest egg for retirement, but I'm vegan. Now that I'm vegan, I hate when people butter me up because I gave up dairy. I laughed so hard when I wrote that, soy milk came out my nose. I went out to eat with my wife at a vegan restaurant, or as I like to think of it, date night. Date puns are the pits. I got a card in the mail that said, save the date. Hippies have taken things too far. I financed a vegan pillow with 0 down. There was a story in the vegan newspaper about a vegan who went to a steakhouse. It was a big nothing burger. You catch more vegans with vinegar than with honey. I think a really well done vegan restaurant along Route 1 would be a cash cow. Every night the owner would bring home the bacon. I was going to write a song about going vegan, but I didn't have the chops. You know what they say, to make a vegan omelet, you don't have to crack any eggs. I was playing catch with a vegan and found that he had Butterfingers. I can't believe it's not Butterfingers. Have you tried these vegan M&Ms by Unreal? Best way to pay for something called Unreal is with Bitcoin. Today I learned there is a vegan hamburger group on Facebook. If I had a company that made plant-based meat alternatives, the slogan would be, fake it till you make it. And even then. I'm working on my vegan version of the turducken. I'm calling it Seitemfu. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. You need to take what I said tonight with a grain of salt. And don't believe it either. Thanks, Luke. That was great. I like the way he thinks. I think a lot, too. I think Red Bull should come with maxi pads, because Red Bull gives you wings. I think that people with superstitious beliefs don't sleep as well. I think that a cannon-making company should stand behind their product. I think that cardiologists should have bumper stickers that say, "Work is where the heart is." I think there's something wrong with battery testers that run on batteries. I think that river dance tickets should cost half as much as other dance performances. They only use their feet. I think that helium balloons are nothing to make light of. Do you know that mayflies only live for 24 hours on average? I think it would be sad if a mayfly had a midlife crisis. I think it would be awkward to watch a flamingo use a laptop. I think that everyone should get the children's rate on Peter Pan buses. I think that in his day, Michelangelo could really draw a crowd. I think that people who don't finish analogies are like... I think we should just do away with pennies. Just putting my 2 cents in. I used to think that sandpaper was made from old beach blankets. I think that Marcel Marceau used to get the silent treatment at the spa. I think the word superfluous may have an unnecessary letter. I think Smurfs grow up to join the Blue Man Group. I argued with the Blue Man Group member to let me join until I was blue in the face. I think that when a staple store falls, a giant staple remover should come and pluck it out of the ground. When one of Domino's franchises close, they should all start to close. I saw a sign in a parking lot that said, "Delivery vehicles only." I had to ask, aren't all vehicles delivery vehicles? I think the phrase truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth to be a little wordy. The first 2 truths seem unnecessary to me. This is what keeps me up at night. Our next comedian is like a ray of sunshine in my life. Cancerous. He has been described as having a sick mind. Please welcome Dane Geris. I was told to pursue my dreams, so now I'm enrolled in a sleep study. I've always had a soft spot for learning words like fontanelle. I take a vitamin called 1 a day. The serving size is 2. I'm not kidding. I'd roll my eyes if I could. A new study on memory came out. Forget everything you know about amnesia. That guy crossed his arms like he's reviewing my chart. The Exorcist has ruined projectile vomiting split pea soup for the rest of us. Now when I have the flu, my wife wants to call in a priest. I fear that if we make fun of anti-vaxxers little by little, they will become immune to it. Today I found forgiveness in my heart. Luckily, a cardiologist got it out of there before it caused blockage. I couldn't remember what causes peptic ulcers, and it's been eating away at me ever since. This joke should have stayed in clinical trials. When I learned how in love the founders of Ipecac syrup were, I threw up in my mouth. I bought a really cheap DNA reader. It wasn't worth spit. If you want to find out about your ancestry while you are a child, you can't. For 23andMe, you have to be 18, which is a catch-22. I went to a think tank for coming up with solutions for the common cold. When people started spitballing, I knew we were doomed. Time of death, 10:45 p.m. I'm surprised I haven't seen Band-Aids with clocks on them. Time heals all wounds. You can find the analog ones in a second-hand store. I was told time heals all wounds, but my watch actually caused chafing on my arm. I've been told the writing's on the wall, but I've also been told that I can't read the room. My favorite part about playing Go Fish with my kids is when they ask me if I have any crabs. I say, why? What did she tell you? I keep looking up the definition of insanity, hoping it will change. This room barely has a pulse. A friend wasn't sure why he had high blood pressure. I think he was a salt of the earth kind of guy. Hemorrhoids are not the worst thing that can happen to you, but they are a pain in the butt. They say laughter is the best medicine, but it's not covered by my HMO. I'm surprised that wisecracks, puns, and quips are sold over the counter. Some can be pretty potent. I'm still paying for laughs out of pocket. The laughter is in remission. Medical science is amazing. I remember reading recently that scientists were able to grow vocal cords in a lab. The recipient was thrilled with the results, but I'll find the article because I don't want to put words in his mouth. My cosmetic surgeon used a lot of tongue-in-cheek humor, but also some Botox-in-cheek humor. I'm mad after going to 3 pharmacies trying to find anti-diarrhea medicine. I'm about to lose my shit. We all should have taken a painkiller before this. Recently I heard that staring through the hole of a kaleidoscope too often can be bad for you. I'm looking into it. I was debating whether to peel off a scab or not. I was torn. To have a cemetery in a city called Worms is a little too on the nose. I have swimmer's ear, athlete's foot, runner's knee, and tennis elbow. I probably shouldn't have worked out with Dr. Frankenstein. I was going to subscribe to Prevention magazine, but something was stopping me. That couple in the front diagnosed the punchline before I got there. I tried to borrow a book from the library on curing diaphragm issues, but I had a few hiccups along the way. This set is medically inadvisable. Just thinking about which cryotherapy place to go to has given me brain freeze. Even though my sore throat has been gone for some time now, I continue to take natural remedies. I feel like I'm beating a dead horse. I told a friend that when I lose taste in my mouth, I drink Natty Light. He asked if that brings the taste back. I told him no, but it's the only way I can get that garbage down. If laughter is the best medicine, these people are going to have to take the second best. I'm guessing that the person who came up with the neti pot also invented waterboarding. Actually, I'm a big fan of the neti pot. People who turn their noses up to the neti pot probably never used it correctly. Now that that joke went over well, I can breathe easier. I saw a guy get sawed in half during surgery, and then they added an appendage to him. They followed the order of operations. Then they kept charging him exponentially, so maybe it wasn't quite PEMDAS. Does a funny surgeon always leave his patient in stitches? Insurance won't cover whatever this is. I took a class in anesthesiology, but I kept falling asleep. I talked to an egotistical vascular surgeon today. This guy was so vain. I was going to be a surgeon, but didn't make the cut. I trust my surgeon implicitly. She would go out on a limb for me. A surgeon asked me for my digits. I took that as a threat. The doctor told me to ice my rotator cuff before replacement surgery. I ended up giving her the cold shoulder. The audience has diagnosed me with trying too hard. I think that breast reduction surgery should be covered by insurance. I just had to get that off my chest. Scientists have discovered a way to add 2 brains into one body. I've got to think twice if I want to do it. Conjoined triplets went in for surgery without involving insurance. They tried to cut out the middleman. I think they got a splitting headache. They decided to open a lobotomy ward in my town, and the residents lost their minds. One day I was very irritable, and I gave a lobotomist a piece of my mind. I debated getting brain surgery, as I wasn't sure I would survive, but then I remembered that I can do anything when I put my mind to it. The placebo routine would have gotten a bigger laugh. The brain surgeon was rather morbid. As he was putting me under, I heard him say, "A penny for your thoughts?" The doctor had trouble removing some of my brain. Sometimes I can't get out of my own head. Wasn't sure if I wanted this surgery at first, but they changed my mind. Insurance covered the procedure, so it was a no-brainer. It's not often that I joke about a lobotomy. I just wanted to see if I could come up with something off the top of my head. After surgery, the good news is a Jedi mind trick won't work on me anymore. The bad news is I don't know what a Jedi is. When it comes to brain surgery jokes, it's always good to have an open mind. I heard a song about sexually transmitted diseases. It was very catchy. How about this for a campaign? STDs. Spread the word. I joined the board that helps people with laryngitis. I wanted my voice to be heard. I knew of a radiologist who always liked people to use their inside voices. I prescribed one better audience. The person who came up with x-rays, Wilhelm Röntgen, is gorgeous inside and out, but mostly inside. I tried lying to an x-ray technician, but she could see right through me. I just wish they would perfect the technology so that the doctor wouldn't have to stick his finger up my rectum every time he takes an x-ray. Wait, your radiologist doesn't do that? I finally remembered the name of my sleep technologist. Now I'll be able to sleep tonight. I was hired as a sleep technologist. It was my dream job. At first I wasn't going to take the job, but the manager told me to sleep on it. The odds of me sleeping through the night are 10 to 1. No wait, those are the hours. I'm one joke away from malpractice. With the price of NyQuil being what it is, how do the CEOs at Vicks sleep at night? Melatonin is amazing. Don't be sleeping on this stuff. Symptoms include sweating and regret. I would think if an acupuncturist could get good at darts, he could have a lucrative social distancing practice. I think of an acupuncturist as a tattoo artist who ran out of ink. Tattoo puns get under my skin. My acupuncturist kept trying to poke me on Facebook. The theory behind why acupuncture works has a lot of holes in it. I had a British urologist who constantly laughed at me. He loved taking the piss out of me. My urologist is really on the ball. I worked on a back-end database for a proctologist, or as he calls it, a database. I just caught a look at my neck in the monitor and it is gross. As I was getting my teeth cleaned yesterday, I was thinking about how few things in my adult life make me feel like a little kid as having an adult floss my teeth. Why don't we go to a proctologist every 6 months for a thorough butt wipe? Sometimes people are so full of BS that I'm concerned for their colon. Using a suppository is not the most painful thing I've ever done, but it's certainly up there. My goal is to make a more comfortable suppository. If you support me, great. If you don't, you can shove it up your ass. My proctologist had a hard time retiring. He was addicted to crack. He is the butt of a lot of jokes. If I was a proctologist, I would say the famous Spaceball line at least once a day. I knew it. I'm surrounded by a... Heck, I'm not a proctologist, and I still say it at least once a day. I thought of becoming a proctologist, but there weren't any openings at the time. I missed an appointment, and my proctologist ripped me a new one. He better not charge me a double copay from now on. Actually, my proctologist always does things half-assed, so I only paid half the copay. I knew a proctologist who saw 2 patients at once. He was trying to make ends meet. My neck is going to make this show R-rated. I'm at the age where they recommend a colonoscopy. When I woke up from the procedure, I said, "Did you get the wisdom teeth out?" I thought it was funny. If you're going to butt dial someone, it's probably best to butt dial your colonoscopy doctor. I know the CEO of Metamucil. This guy always does me a solid. The woman saw my neck and is covering her daughter's eyes. My doctor asked me for a stool sample, but I misplaced it. After the day I had, I just lost my shit. I saved up a few samples to send off at once. Now I really need to get my shit together. I once got my proctologist and lobotomist mixed up. I have shit for brains. When it comes to which is a better laxative, Ducalex or X-Lax, I don't give two shits. My doctor said, "I hope you don't take this the wrong way, but you need a suppository." I told the doc he could take the suppositories and stick them where the sun don't shine. The pharmacist kept trying to push the generic brand on me. Literally. I ran out of suppositories and had to bum one off a friend. My doctor told me I needed suppositories, and that was a hard pill to swallow. This room has all the warmth of an MRI machine. My proctologist was so mad at me, but I just as soon turned the other cheek. After having some liposuction done in my rear, I got into a fight with the doctor. I had my ass handed to me. I meant to take a picture of my rear after the reduction. Unfortunately, I got a little behind. A pal made fun of my rectum wash. The enemy of my enema is my friend. That guy just winked at my neck. Do podiatrists only use footnotes? Please don't ask if gynecologists use periods. I can't afford a facelift right now, but the surgeon told me to keep my chin up. I definitely need to fix my shirt. Hold on. Alright, that's better. At least people won't look at me and throw up now. They still will? I have a gift certificate for a facelift that I'm selling at face value. If I can't get rid of the certificate, I may end up being two-faced after all. That joke is pretty tight. I won't let it go to my head, though. It's a little bit of a stretch. I met a rude but generous plastic surgeon who gave me a lot of lip. Any surgery that Barbie gets is considered plastic surgery. My electrolysis and I were close for a while, but we just hit a rough patch. The autopsy will reveal poor timing. I knew someone who got conjunctivitis and loved it. The shit has hit the fan. My eye doctor was talking to me about the jelly-like substance called vitreous that fills the eye, and all I could do was sing in my head, "I don't think you're ready for this jelly." I watched an amazing cataract surgery on YouTube. It was eye-opening. I have an ophthalmologist who is easy on the eyes. She's not attractive, but very gentle. When I went for a yearly checkup, the eye doctor said, "Any concerns?" I said, "Nope. Well, my eyes are bigger than my stomach, but I'm not sure there's anything you can do for that." I did some research to see if people without sight prefer a partner who also is without vision. It was a double-blind study. They're laughing internally. I use contactless payments for my eyeglasses. I added the CEOs of AccuView and Bausch & Lomb to my contacts list. I went to the funeral of the CEO of Guise. There wasn't a dry eye in the house. With eye jokes, the cornea, the better. Maybe they're all doctors. An optometrist was scouting for locations for a new office. It's a site for sore eyes. I want an ophthalmologist who uses exact measurements when performing LASIK surgery. I don't want her to eyeball it. Why do I want that? It will all become very clear soon. I probably didn't need the surgery, but hindsight is always 20/20. I told her she messed up my eyesight. She told me to keep a lid on it. If I was a teacher at an optometry school and a student asked to go to the bathroom, I would say, "Do you have to go 1 or 2? 1 or 2? I went out to drink with my optometrist the other evening. The whole night is a blur. I bought my optometrist a "See Something, Say Something" sticker to hang in his office. My vision was so poor that when people used to joke with me, I'd say, "I see what you did there." Vaguely. If you're going to have a support group for people who suffer from obsessive-compulsive disorder, it's probably best to just take the doors off the convention hall. A couple of things I've noticed lately. 1, seems like everyone in my life has OCD and perseverates about everything. And 2, seems like everyone in my life has OCD and perseverates about everything. Obsessive-compulsive disorder runs in my family. I donated to OCD research 27 times in one day. I would prefer if they could come up with an acronym for OCD that included the whole alphabet. I have compulsive tendencies. Well, I don't know if I really do. It's just something I tell myself every 5 minutes. A doctor recommended medication for Tourette's. He swears by it. I said that just for shits and giggles. I meant to just say giggles. That joke died of natural causes. When I was told that I needed Viagra, it was a hard pill to swallow. If I want it to last longer, I wonder if Pfizer has a booster for that. I found it funny that I accidentally swallowed a Viagra, and nobody laughed harder than me. I know a clumsy organ donor. He has my eyes and ears on the ground. I got the 7-ear itch. My doctor hadn't seen anything like it. My allergist asked me to do him a favor. I told him if he scratched my back, I'd scratch his. As I tell my kids, if you meet someone with a food allergy, don't rub it in their face. I think the expression "piece of cake" has a whole different meaning for someone who has celiac sprue. I think I'm allergic to colds, but it's hard to tell. What if somebody is allergic to epinephrine? If you've got hives, then every ticket is a scratch ticket. I used to have a friend who was double-jointed. He turned his back on me. I knew of a flexible pothead. He was also double-jointed. Glad my friend got joint custody. Marijuana calms him down. I just joke recreationally. I saw an anti-marijuana documentary at the theater with a proponent of pot. He thought the whole thing was a giant smokescreen. Now that pot is legal in some states, I think its production needs to be held to higher standards. I forgot what LSD stood for, but it was on the tip of my tongue. I've lost the waiting room. I believe I heard the creator of The Ruler went straight edge. Paging Dr. Laugh. Paging Dr. Laugh. I had people bring over different kinds of kush. It was a potluck. All my best buds were there. This joke is a little highbrow. At my dentist's office, there are murmurs of insider trading. I went to a cheap orthodontist to put braces on because I wasn't making ends meet. The dental hygienist who did my final cleaning before the braces went on was scraping bottom herself. She told me she was retiring, and in order to tolerate the bad news, I had to brace myself. I wanted to read an article about the science behind loose teeth, but my schedule was so packed, I have no wiggle room. I know of a heart surgeon who is willing to leave the profession in a heartbeat. It would be rude for a doctor to say, "It's with a heavy heart that I have to tell you you have cardiomegaly." There was a cardiologist who was also a carnivore. He was fond of the expression, "eat your heart out." When I had a sincere conversation with my cardiologist, I took it to heart. I take my cardiologist's advice with a grain of salt, probably how I got in this mess in the first place. A chiropractor can have a welcome back sign, and it works for new and returning customers. I think I slouch too much. It's just a hunch I have. I booked 2 chiropractor appointments back to back. My chiropractor used to talk back to me all the time. I wasn't used to it. Took some adjusting. I emailed to tell him I would no longer be a patient because I didn't have the spine to say it to his face. I'm glad that I have a chiropractor in my posse. That guy always has my back. My chiropractor is a jokester. This guy is always pulling my leg. Sometimes he's too much, and I just have to say, "Give me a break." My doctor said that with some exercise and stretching, I could make my neck straighter. I thanked him for the heads up. My physical therapist wanted to see how my back would do if I remained upright for 24 hours. I had a one-night stand. He didn't think I had the backbone to go through with it. This set is flatlining. When I couldn't find what I was looking for in a prosthetic online search, I felt like just throwing my hands up in the air and giving up. I ended up getting a hand-me-down from a friend. I know of a doctor who left some instruments in the mom during a C-section. The child was almost born with a silver spoon in his mouth. I have a phobia of corn mazes, but I don't want to get into it with you. 20 years ago, I started taking medication for paranoia, and I've never looked back. I think that penicillin really broke the mold. A scientist was doing controversial experiments with penicillin. He was molding young minds. If Alexander Fleming took penicillin, I could say he got a taste of his own medicine. Power went out at my doctor's office yesterday. Today, I called to see if they had the flu vaccine in yet. This may be a shot in the dark. My doctor used to run an immunization clinic. He said it felt good to call the shots. I'm glad you laughed. I appreciate the boost. I hope that Kermit the Frog is using precautions against catching the swine flu. I made a skit about progeria that didn't age well. If you don't like this, you don't know Jack. They're looking at me like I'm the second opinion. My oncologist makes a lot of cancer jokes. His humor is sort of growing on me. Genetics seems to have given me inferior lower legs. Shins of the fathers. This joke has a pretty low survival rate. I made fun of my phlebotomist, and we traded jabs, but she drew first blood. Reminds me of the time I made a graphic novel for Rambo, and I drew first blood. My phlebotomist preferred to draw only a certain kind of blood. She had type A personality. I know just enough WebMD to be dangerous. An endocrinologist told me he was nervous about giving a talk. I told him, don't let them see you sweat. I told him not to sweat the small stuff, but he reminded me that it's all part of a healthy functioning body. I found that when it is humid out, my skin expands. When it rains, it pours. I definitely should have gone to med school. I found a place that sold diabetes paraphernalia wholesale. I was like a kid in a candy store. Diabetics might not enjoy the song Pour Some Sugar on Me as much as others. I'm starting to think they don't have valet here and my car is gone. I felt good after I donated to a diabetes charity. They sent me a thank you note, which was the icing on the cake. If you've agreed to taking insulin shots, then you're drinking the Kool-Aid. If you have to tell someone they have diabetes, don't sugarcoat it. Saying gastroesophageal reflux disease is a mouthful. My primary care physician told me a joke and I didn't laugh. He then told me to lighten up. I've been on the treadmill ever since. I started eating TV dinners as my doctor told me I needed to eat 3 square meals a day. I know a dermatologist who got the 7-year itch. I think he's involved in his own malpractice suit. I made it to a dermatologist appointment by the skin of my teeth. My dermatologist insulted me and found out I have thick skin. Then he charged me more. I'm picturing them naked, and now I think I have an erection. Yep. I know somebody who wrote a cover letter for a podiatrist position. It was really just a footnote in his career. If boys have cooties and they are able to live with it, none the wiser. Can't biologists extract some of the antibodies so we can cure the scary imaginary disease? Parents, please get your kids vaccinated. You wouldn't send a kid with a peanut sandwich, right? Why send a cootie kid with a sandwich? I knew a kid who grew up and contracted cooties and had to live with the painful effects. It might have been syphilis, though. Thanks for being such a great audience. I have the most clever fans in the world. And you guys aren't bad either. When I learned how in love the founders of Ipecac. My cosmetic surgeon used a lot of tongue-in-cheek. I think I want to cut that one. Scientists have... The person who came up with X-rays, Wilhelm Röntgen, I probably pronounced that wrong, is gorgeous inside and out, but mostly inside. Hey Siri, how do you pronounce Wilhelm Röntgen? I went to the funeral of the CEO of Guise. That's not how you say it. I went to the funeral of the CEO of Guise. Let's take that one again.